Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Lenders Gone Wild podcast. I'm joined with colleague, business partner, friend, and serial entrepreneur, Austin Zaback today. Austin, welcome to the show,
Matt
my friend.
Meyer, appreciate you having me, brother.
Yeah, bro.
Yes,
welcome
sir.
to Lenders Gone Wild.
Dude, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you because your podcast is part of the inspiration of me getting here and having the courage to do this and just really want to have a platform where we can have fun, tell stories, not just your story, which I'm real excited to get into, but also what are the fun things that we see in this business and the wild side of this industry that is, kind of pretty crazy, right? I mean, I once remember I had a borrower that her W-2 didn't match her VOE from last year. And we're like, why is that? Right? Like, this is like what's going on?
Yeah.
And she goes, well, with TurboTax, her W-2 didn't match her tax returns. And I asked her why, and she said because with TurboTax, she just kept changing the number until it turned green.
Got it.
And I was like,
okay.
so that's tax fraud.
Yeah, you got to love that.
Love that, right? But it's like the things that people say, like, because they
Yep.
just don't know any better, or they think this is how they should live their life, and then they go to do mortgage or purchase real estate, and they get into like those adult level
It's a crazy
financial
industry.
decisions.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, we can't do your loan, but thanks for the honesty.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%, dude. I mean, we've all dealt with like everything that you could possibly deal with. We've dealt with.
You see all things that like make you go, okay.
Yep.
Oh, well, let me help you with life, but I can't help you with the house.
Totally.
So, man, I would love to just get into, I know you guys are doing a ton of exciting things at Space, a ton of exciting things in business. So would love to kind of just give everybody the high level, how we got here, right? Tell me a little bit about you and your journey in real estate from the wholesale days all the way through.
Yep.
And then we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing and what's ahead for you guys.
Cool. Yeah. So I'll keep it really short. I don't want to bore people. I got into real estate 12 years ago, give or take.
Yep.
I got into wholesaling real estate, which is where you're flipping the contracts, right?
Yep.
And that really was where I got kind of like, obsessed with real estate, entrepreneurship, et cetera. And so from there, I did quite a few deals. Long story short, I got my real estate license in 2015. November of 2015, started doing both. Now I'm wholesaling and I'm selling real estate, right? Like, and a lot of times I was wholesaling to the flipper and then selling the deal firm on the back end, right?
Yep.
And that was kind of the agreement I had back in the day with like my flippers and stuff like that. So I probably did, 300 or 400 transactions over the, like when I was basically from like 17 years old to like, 19 or 20 years old, something like that. And I just loved it, and I knew that I would eventually be somebody in the real estate industry, and I looked at, the Ryan Serhants and the Tariq El Musas and the Grant Cardones and just all these different people, right? And I wanted to eventually be somebody like that people looked up to and, that built like a really cool thing. And so, I mean, look, man, I've started like 13 or 14 companies over the last decade. A lot of them didn't work. A lot of them were me chasing shiny objects as a visionary and entrepreneur. And, and I really, like, as I evolved, I think, as an entrepreneur, I learned what I liked, what I didn't like, what I could do, what I couldn't do in terms of like bandwidth and timing and stuff like that. And so it was just kind of the natural evolution of failure, trials and tribulations, and really learning what worked and what didn't work. Yeah. And then, eventually we obviously partnered. I had the Zaback group. I had a pretty big team doing probably 150 million a year, something like that. Keith and Pete had, a team. They were doing 200, 250, a little bit more than we were. And, we did a full-blown merger, right? So day one, we were doing 3 to 400 million a year, in transaction volume in one of the worst markets since 08, right? Because, I mean, 22, 23, 24 were not good years when you look at resale sales.
Yeah, transaction count was like,
terrible.
Awful,
right? It's like 4 million homes sold in the entire year, I think, in 2024, which is like the lowest since like 1995.
Right.
Like,
but
it's terrible.
Also, like, I've never heard of anybody doing a merger like that as a team, right? Like, you usually have people that go create their own thing. Yep. There's more splitting off than there is merging. And so I remember when you guys did that, like thinking, wow, what an incredible like act of humility, because it's a lot easier for you guys to kind of just go do your own thing, right? And then it's a shiny object at this brokerage, a shiny object in this team. as opposed to you guys going, no, let's join forces. Let's see the benefits of what each other does well, and then bring that and grow the collective strength.
Totally.
That's, I don't know anybody else. I mean, doing this for 13 years in the Valley, I haven't seen anybody else make that play.
Well, like you said it, right? It was, the answer was in your statement, which is that people have too big of an ego. Sure. Right? That there's no humility in our industry. Everybody who's making $50,000 a month, they think they're Bill Gates. And the reality of it is, like, it's a bunch of bull crap, right? And I think that, for me, I knew very early on that success loves speed. And so I saw the industry changing and evolving. And basically, I'm like, okay, we don't have forever. Like, in 10 years, I can't guarantee that real estate will look the way that it looks today. Right? So if we're going to go big, like, we have one shot, we have one opportunity, and we need to make it happen, right? And how do we get there quicker? We collaborate with other people, right? And so my way to collaborate was, hey, let's do some big thing that nobody's ever done.
That's real leadership, right?
Yeah.
Real leadership is understanding the power of collaboration.
Totally.
Like, that's I think that's the biggest thing a lot of people miss when they think about leadership. And so, really a cool story the way that you guys did that. I want to back up a little bit because you talked about starting in this as a teenager, where like the amount of hustle, drive, and vision for the age at which you kind of like said, I'm gonna be a player in this space is really uncommon. Do you have can you look back and go like, I can attribute some things in my life, in my childhood, or whatever that kind of helped you get there?
Yeah. So I mean, look, I grew up in my grandpa and grandma's garage. I believe, after interviewing hundreds of highly, highly successful individuals, from deca millionaires to guys that are worth 9 figures to guys that are worth 10 figures on my podcast, right? I realized that everybody has trauma in some way, shape, or form, right? And the people who had the picture perfect childhood growing up, that's their version of trauma, because now they think the world's perfect and they go into an imperfect world and all hell breaks loose, right? And so for me, I was like most, I'm not special in any way, but there was a lot of trauma in my childhood, right? I bounced back and forth between homes. When I was a kid, it was almost as if like my parents didn't love me, right? Like I had to do something to earn their love. Because they didn't want me to live with them, right? So then I would always end up back at my grandpa and grandma's, and so I think when you grow up in a garage like that, first of all, my grandpa and grandma made me start working really, really young, right? My grandpa taught me his pool cleaning company when I was 7 years old. By the time I was 8.5 years old, I had my own pool route. I was probably cleaning like 15 to 20 pool accounts, making $2,000 to $3,000 a month, all cash. At 9 years old, right? So like, and remember, they're grandparents. So like, what happens when you go to grandpa and grandma's? There's no rules, right? Like I grew up in a house where I had no rules in that particular environment, right? Because that's what grandparents do, right? We always talk about that. You sing your kids to grandpa and grandma's. What do? They get spoiled.
Yeah, right.
Right. So I was spoiled in the sense of I didn't have anybody really telling me what to do. So here I am, 10 years old, making a couple grand a month. And they didn't care what I did, right? Like, I mean, I never got grounded. I bought whatever I wanted to buy.
My kids get like $20 for their birthday and they think they're rich.
Dude.
Right. I couldn't imagine $2,000.
This was in 2003, or whatever, right? So this was like before inflation and, all that. So anyways, man, I think, trauma and things that happen, like we're all shaped by what we went through when we were children.
Sure.
Like I've done a lot of personal development in my life. I recently did the Hoffman process, which is like, so I've done like Joe Dispenza, I've done the Landmark Forum, I did the Hoffman process. The Hoffman process is all about, it's essentially a 7-day retreat. You go to the middle of nowhere. You can't bring your phone with you. You have zero connection to the outside world. Like there could be a nuclear bomb. You wouldn't know about it. And you're like in a classroom for like 12 to 14 hours a day doing like essentially like, what do we want to call it? Like trial type of work, like stuff that hasn't been like approved by, I don't know, the FDA, the government, whatever. Right. And all it's based around is like diving deep into your childhood.
There's people that like moderate and lead that.
Yeah. And you're like bashing pillows. Like it's pretty crazy stuff that they have you do in there. But the whole thing is like diving deep into your childhood trauma and figuring out why you are the way that you are, right?
Sure.
And so, I think we're all the way that we are as a result of something that we went through when we were children, whether or not we realize it or even recognize it, right? Like a lot of people don't even know that that's why that they are the way they are. But, it's either something the people that, raised you did or didn't do that caused you to be the way you are.
And they did the best, right? Like, I mean, I have weekly coaching, right? Executive level coaching and bi-monthly counseling. So like I'm I'm with you,
Yep.
right? The journey is an ongoing process, right? And I had by all exterior accounts, a really good childhood, right? Like present parents,
Yep.
right? Like hardworking parents, right? Like lots of values, right levels of discipline for the era, right? And so you have them doing the best they know how, right? In the 80s. And then all of a sudden I'm in a counseling session. I was like, I have attachment issues.
Yeah.
Like, how do I, right? Like, that's not the story I would necessarily have written, but like you pull that thread or peel that onion enough and you get to these things where you're like,
Totally.
oh,
Yeah.
this is right. And it's not like, what I love about that journey is it allows you to have the awareness to then inform how do you, right?
Yeah.
How do you show up? How do you be present? How do you do things to stop that cycle
Yep.
and to love differently? And that's right.
Totally.
Like such an incredible, beautiful journey.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. The personal development journey is the best thing that anybody could ever do, right?
Agreed.
Like it's so cliche, right? You see it probably in every podcast, but like the best investment you can make is in yourself.
Right.
And that's the investment I made for a long time. You know, before I ever invested in a Roth IRA or a 401k or an index fund or real estate or like anything like that, I invested into books. I invested into coaching. I invested into events and masterminds.
Right.
And you know, therapists and everything you can imagine, right? To do a deep dive on why am I the way that I am, right? And I'm still on that journey, by the way, right? Like I have not, and I don't ever intend on
There's
reaching
not
the
an arrival.
destination. No,
Right.
not at all.
So taking that arrival fallacy and applying it to business, one of the questions I like to ask guests is like, how do you know like when you've arrived from a success standpoint? Like what is the win? What is the eventual goal that is in front of what you guys have come together to build at Space?
So space and it's a tough question to answer because I think like as an entrepreneur, you know, we run quite a few different companies. I think we're technically running 8 companies right now, 7 or 8. And I, you know, like for me, I'm just I'm an entrepreneur, right? At heart, yeah. I'm just like, it's in my blood. I can't imagine living any other type of way. I'm always on the go. I'm like, you can ask Mojde, my wife, right? Like there is no turning it off, right?
Right.
It's nonstop all the time, 24/7. I'll be at dinner, 10 o'clock at night. I'll have a great idea. I've got to like tell somebody about it, right? So, you know, I think the goal, right, in general, like the overarching goal is legacy, probably, right?
Okay.
Like how many people are going to show up at my funeral and how long are they going to remember me, right? Because the reality of it is, you know, somebody told me a while back, like, Austin, you know, for your normal average person, you know, people grieve like for a week, right? Like it's like bad if you really look at it. Like maybe your spouse will grieve for a few months, but like people move on, right? And so you know, are they just going to forget everything? Like if you don't make an impact, right, in the world that we're living in, then, okay, so then I die, everybody shows up at my funeral, and 2 days later, people are back to living their life, and they don't even, I never crossed the brain. Like, that's not what I want, right?
That's not the level of impact you're seeking.
I want to leave such an impact that 10 or 20 years down the line, people are like, man, that Austin Zaback guy, he really made an impact in my life for the better, right? In any capacity. It could be in any pillar of life. And so I think that's like the ultimate goal, right? Now, obviously, I'm an entrepreneur. We build companies and like we have a lot of fun doing that. Look, money is a tool that can be used to achieve things like legacy, right?
Sure.
So like you can't achieve that level of impact without money, right? Like it's just impossible. You know, money's a tool. So at a certain point, I think like we all need money to survive, right? There's a number that you need, a number that I need, a number that Jacob needs to survive.
Right.
And then there's a number where you're like, I'm good, dude. Like, it's cool if I make more. Like, maybe I'll get a cool car because I like cool cars. But, like, I'm totally good, right?
Yep.
And I think once you achieve that, then everything you do beyond that is just for the legacy and to build that empire, to build that wealth for your family, for your future, for whatever that is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, right, Macklemore says, like, everybody dies twice,
Yeah.
right? And the second one is the last time somebody mentions your name, right? And it's like to leave, like, a legacy that again, stretches for decades maybe, right? Or who knows, even longer, right? Like what kind of stories will my grandkids and great-grandkids that I never met tell about me?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like what will the impact that I make on my children and how will that cascade down? Or other people, right? Like where else can I make that kind of contribution in the world to impact somebody at that kind of level?
Yeah.
So that's really right? Like, that's the right perspective. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes, a lot of times in our industry, you can make a lot of money really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
right? And a lot of people get sucked into then that kind of part of life, right?
Yeah.
Where it becomes temporary, it becomes based on stuff and accolades, and right, you get this award, you get this paycheck, you get this, right? You buy this house, this car, whatever, but then it all,
Yep.
right? Like we've seen the last couple of years.
Totally.
It can all disappear
Yeah.
really fast.
Especially
right?
in the mortgage industry.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
The refis dry up and you know what I mean? The guys
Well,
that were
transaction counts down, right?
Right.
Like look at like both of our
Yeah.
sides of the business. Like licensing renewal is like crazy low from 2024 to 25, right?
Yep.
Like you just see a lot of people that the flash of the business, like, right?
Totally.
They never really took ownership of their business, or they just didn't have the right priorities, the right guidance, the right support around them to be able to sustain,
Agreed.
right, over a long haul, because markets change.
Yeah.
Right. Things come, things go. What are some things, thinking about like as the market change and moving with speed, what are some things that are on the horizon in any of the businesses? Obviously I work most closely with the team at Space, but in any of the businesses and the ventures you have going, what are the things that kind of have you most excited here as we close out 2025?
Well, look, I mean, I think Space is, we're doing something that's never been done, right? Like we kind of touched on a little bit, you know, so Space is our retail real estate team,
Yep.
which Canopy works extremely closely with. You know, I think we have 340 agents or something on the team now. If last time I checked, and I, you know, we're sitting probably just shy of 400 million, and as we're filming, it's like August 20th. So I think that company will do 600 or 700 million this year, and then, you know, between
we're just opening a handful of states, like,
right.
even as we speak, right? Like,
Yep, and wholesale, you know, obviously will make up that difference to get us just shy of probably $1 billion. You know, but with Space, it's infinitely scalable right now, I think, because we've unlocked kind of a new level that nobody's ever embarked down, right? Like no team has really ever, that I've seen, I mean, has ever gotten past, I don't know, 400 or 500 agents. I mean, you just don't see it, right? Because at some point, there's so many reasons why they don't scale past that. You know, we could get into if you want, but you know, our goal is to get to 5,000 agents, right? And be nationwide, 30,000 transactions a year. You know, I think that would put us at like 10 billion a year in production, give or take, as a team.
That's amazing.
You know, not as a broker, right? Like people get it confused who aren't in the industry,
right?
Because they see like it's like, no, we're not EXP, we're not LPT, we're Space, we're a team, right? So I think that'll be really cool.
LPT is the platform that allows Space to do and accomplish the things that you have a vision
and LPT is
for.
amazing, right? We love Robert Palmer, and that was a phenomenal decision. Great leader. Very intelligent leader. We've actually had an opportunity to spend quite a bit of time with him, which is really cool. I've now been on Robert Palmer's private jet. I've been on his yacht. I've stayed at, you know, we've been to his house in Montana. I mean, we've really had a lot of fun with him and gotten to see the personal side of him. And he's even looking at our company as, you know, and I can't say too much, but he's looking at Space as like, how can he be more involved aside from just us being with LPT? Like, he wants to make sure that we never leave, essentially, right? Like, to put it simply, you know? And so we're working on what that could look like in the future. But again, you know, all this is just really the effect, I think, of doing something that's never been done in the industry, right? Which is like, really, I mean, at the end of the day, putting it simply is like putting the agent first and actually, like, you know, I'll say one thing that makes us different, okay, at Space. And that is that most big teams, okay, think 100 agents, 200 agents, 300 agents, where does all the energy go from the team leaders and the leadership? It's always going to the new agent. You see it all the time, right? These team leaders, there's this expectation in the industry where when an agent does enough production or they become successful or they make enough money, they leave, right? And they've like accepted that. Like the industry's accepted that fact, that reality, right? Like, so then let's put all of our attention and energy into the new agent, build them, knowing they're eventually going to leave, and then we'll just put all of our attention back into the new agent. We shifted it. We said, hey, we're going to put 90% of our time, energy, and resources into the experienced agent to keep them forever. And of course, we're still going to help the new agents become experienced, but we're going to take that opposite approach, right?
I love it.
How can we change their life? How can we take an agent who's doing 50 deals a year and give them so much value that they want to stay on the team at 50 deals a year, 75 deals a year, right? Nobody's figured that out. And so Keith obviously is my partner. He's the CEO of that company. I'm the president kind of the holding company, if you will. And he's doing a phenomenal job implementing that and being in the day-to-day of that.
Well, and I've been with Keith and Pete for 6-7 years, right? So I've watched that exact model, right? Like, and they figure a piece out, right? But have that turnover. And how do you, right? Not just focus on growth, but focus on, right? The growth only happens if retention is there, right? Like I remember, right? Like different boards I've sat on, it's like, okay, we have this many, right? Like new subscribers or new members or new attendees, right? But then we have this much attrition out the back door. So we net like small growth.
Sure.
Right? If you can just stop the back door from happening, right? Now you really have something that has the ability to create some significant momentum in the industry.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, I've heard Keith say, right? Like, what if the issue of growing a team is the team leader,
it is.
Right? And so you have like a guy who's been a team leader for a while, who's the CEO of a really good sized team already, going, what if the model that I built this entire thing on is the problem?
100%.
Right?
And it is the problem 99% of the time.
But the courage to change that,
right,
bro.
And the humility.
Yeah.
Right. Again, it goes back to the ego, right? If your ego is too big, you don't even realize you're the problem.
Right.
You know?
You can't take the real hard look and go, wait, maybe it's me. How do I create something where I get out of the way and really let people flourish?
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
And that's it's special, right? Like, and I get a front row seat to it every day, which is a lot of fun. But it is really remarkable. I talk to a lot of teams. My team, my division works with lots of brokerages and lots of teams all over the country. Right? It's rather unique.
It is super unique, you know, and I think we're going to see a lot of ego leave the industry. Because I think people will have to get more humble as the industry changes, and they're going to have to look at other options and opportunities. Like at a certain point, I think team leaders that, you know, because so many team leaders out there are struggling and they'll never admit it, right? Like their production is the reason they're profitable. So your P&L's jacked, right? Because if you remove your production and you're not profitable, you don't own a business. The business owns you, and you just have a high-paying job, right?
Yep.
So, you know, I think people just need the humility to look at their business and say, hey, is this really what it's all cracked up to be? Or is there another option out there? Is there another platform, opportunity, partnership, collaboration? Like, what can it look like, right? Because we're partnering with team leaders all over the nation now.
But they're turning into coaches.
They are, right.
So that coaching model, I think, is really unique and something that, right, through my own personal development journey, I look at my business and say, okay, like 5 years from now, right, some of these LOs that are just getting their feet wet, right, like my value to them is not going to be transaction based. Yeah. It's not going to be understanding guidelines, problem solving, communication skills, CRMs, right? Like all of the systems and tools that they currently need from me are not going to be what keeps them around.
Agreed. Yep.
Right? But if I can add value to their personal development, their growth, right? Who they are, both personally and professionally, right? If I can continue to reinforce that and raise their own bar and help them crush their own limiting beliefs, that has staying power.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
That has a place in any business for a long time to come.
Agreed. Yeah. So I couldn't agree more with that.
That's been something, right, where I look at what does 10 years from now look like? 10 years from now looks like, right, I'm doing a lot more coaching than I am transactional 100%. Management.
Yeah. Help enough people get what they want, you get what you want every time.
Right.
Right? It's the age-old saying.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn, John C. Maxwell, I don't even know who said it, right? But everybody knows that. Right. You know?
Brian Tracy, one of those guys,
for
right?
sure. Yep.
There's so many of them that 100%. Have been great that, like, this is not rocket science. It's not brand new. Like, we're not doing anything that hasn't, right? Nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of having the humility to set aside what you're chasing for you and make that path for others, right?
Yeah.
Where, you know, at a growth day conference with Brendan Bouchard, like, I realized, like, my belief in others is my superpower.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
Like, if I can believe in them first, right? And it is full of heartache. It's full of disappointment.
Yeah.
It's right. There's a lot of struggle in that. And there's a lot of people that would say, like, I can't want it more than you do. And I was like, but sometimes because I want it more than you do, I change your life.
Totally. Yep. And that's a cool thing as a leader.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that is leadership, right?
Yeah.
Like leadership is seeing stuff in people that they don't necessarily see in themselves.
Yes.
Right? Like I think that is
Well
the
said.
definition of a good leader,
Yeah.
or one of the definitions of a good leader,
Yeah.
right? Because you have to be able to identify somebody's potential. Maybe they're in a season of insecurity, or they're in a season of self-doubt, or they're in a season of hardship, right? And as a leader, we come at it from a different objective angle, and we get to look at them and say, hey, no. You are capable of this particular thing, and I'm going to push you to do that thing, right?
Yeah.
And obviously helping them along the way that's great leadership,
It's
man.
crazy to me and I think, right, like not to make a whole lot of generational statements, but like it's crazy to me, especially with some of the younger generations, the lack of belief that they have in themselves. And some of that may not be different. It's just
Totally.
I'm older now.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, it's the same thing I struggled with when I was in my 20s.
Yeah, I
right?
think a lot of it is social media, right? Because
That
we're
helps.
always comparing, and the problem when you compare is that you're always comparing to somebody's highlight reel of what you think they have, or the perception of what it looks like they have.
And you're watching this on social media,
right,
probably.
compared to
right?
what you have, right?
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, so you're always falling short,
Yeah.
right? Or it appears that way, at least, right? You get on social media every day, and you're like, man, I'm falling short. Man, I'm falling short. Man, I'm falling short. And so eventually, you start to be insecure. You have imposter syndrome. There's all of these negative things that start to happen mentally. And so you need a good coach. You need a good mentor to say, hey, no, you're right where you need to be.
Yep.
In this season of life. Keep on keeping on, and you'll eventually achieve X result.
Yeah.
Right?
I love it.
Yeah.
Yep. That's so good, man. That's so good. Obviously, right, your career, right? We kind of talked through your story, and you guys have a lot of really exciting things ahead. Can you think of an instance or two that you would highlight as like the moments of like you have a lot of pride around those achievements, or I feel like they're like these highlights of your career to this point?
Look, man, the thing that comes to my mind is like who, not how, right? And so a lot of what I've been able to do is not a result of me being so smart or me being so special. It's not true, right? It's a result of really two things: my network and my grit, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm not the smartest guy. I didn't go to college, right? I didn't, I don't have some crazy fancy degree or anything like that. I grew up in a freaking garage, for crying out loud, and I got like a 2.8 GPA in high school. I barely got my diploma, right? So, but I've been very fortunate to meet some extremely high-level people in the course of my lifetime. My phone book is on another level for my age. And I've got a lot of billionaires in my phone book, a ton of people that are worth hundreds of millions, and a crap load of people that are worth, 1 to 10 million, right?
Yeah.
And so if I'm presented with a problem or challenge, it's not about like, nowadays I don't look at the problem or challenge and try to like go into ChatGPT and be like, fix it on my own, right? I just call somebody who's been there. I just reach out to my network, right? And that's what having a network is all about.
Sure.
And I provide so much value to my network that they're always willing to help me. And so I think that is a big thing that, when you ask that question, is like, for me, I just feel blessed to be able to do that. But anybody can do that, right? Like anybody can build a network. Anybody can start a podcast. Like,
right.
Sure, it's a lot of work. It costs money. But like my podcast has made me tens of millions of dollars, like in an indirect type of way, right? I couldn't necessarily put it on a spreadsheet and track how it made me that money, but it's made me that money, right? Like no question about it. And so, and we have other businesses that are coming down the pipe right now. You're familiar with one of them that we're about to launch. We're about a week and a half out from launching that company.
Are you able to talk about it or not?
Yeah, we can talk about it. Yeah, so we're getting into home services.
Yeah.
We're vertically integrating that industry with the real estate industry.
So smart.
Right, because it's like, Canopy Mortgage, right?
Yeah.
ETA Title, Emerald Title, the actual transaction itself. And now, so we have everything right? Yeah. So, people need a mortgage, people need a title company to work with, and then people need a real estate agent, or they need a cash offer, which is our other company, right?
Yep.
And then we don't do anything right now post-transaction.
Right.
Right? And so we're looking at it and we're saying, man, we have this huge database. I'm a phenomenal marketer. Like, I'm great at building companies. I'm great at putting the right people in the right places to scale companies, build culture, build systems and processes. Why aren't we playing in the big leagues, right? And so we're getting into home services. The first company we're going to start is pest control. Okay. We're, like I said, when this airs, we'll probably be live. We already own 2 trucks.
Yep.
Both trucks are in the paint shop as we speak. One of them should be painted today. I'm
Let's
licensed
go.
in all things pest already. So
Nice.
I went to pest control school. I got my GPC license, my cord industrial, my termite license. My A2A. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. The goal is to get to like 300 to 500 trucks on the road in all the markets that Space is in the next 3 to 5 years. So
Is there anything that limits you like state to state, or is
No,
is
you just
your
need
licensing kind of universal?
No, you have to get a QP in every state, which is a qualified party.
Yeah.
And that qualified party has to be on your business license when you apply. But it's pretty easy to get a QP.
That's great,
Yeah, you
so-
just pay somebody essentially to be a QP.
That's great.
Yeah. So scaling will be pretty
Scaling
simple.
is simple, yeah.
We'll probably get to like 50 trucks here, and then we'll
That's
open like
awesome.
California. I don't know if we'll go to Texas or California first. Or Florida. I think it'll probably be Texas or California, and then it'll be Florida.
Yeah.
Whichever one we don't go with, right?
Okay.
And then we'll just kind of scale from there, and we'll see. I think the goal eventually is just to build a portfolio company that owns like an HVAC company, pest control company. This will be the only home service company, I think. Obviously, this could change, so we can fact check me in a couple years from now. But I think that we'll start from scratch. So
Yeah.
I'm only starting this one from scratch. People are like, Austin, why don't you just go acquire a couple of pest control companies and like merge them together and like build from there, right? Well, I really want to learn the home service industry from ground zero and understand every nuance that it takes in that industry. I've mastered real estate,
Sure.
right? We've sold like $4 billion worth of real estate, I've done a lot of deals, So there's not a whole lot that I need to learn in that industry anymore. Now I want to learn everything about home service,
I
right?
love it.
I think with HVAC or plumbing or landscape or pools, we would probably just go find a couple of operators that are already doing it that are maybe small time.
Yep.
They don't know how to go big time, right? They're great technicians and they happen to be a business owner, but they don't know how to be a business owner.
Right.
Acquire them, scale that way, right?
Yep. That's a great model.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. So I probably 3 years ago, I was back when Keith was still in Chuck's office in Chandler, right? And we're sitting there, and Garrett and I were sharing an office, and Keith comes in, and Pete's there, and he starts whiteboarding, and he literally wrote out like every home service.
Yep.
Like this is 3 years ago. He's like, guys, nationwide, nobody has that,
Yep.
right? And he's
Yeah.
like his dreaming and vision, right, coupled with the same mindset that you have and the grit and the ability to go execute, like
Totally.
it's super fun. It's just awesome that like this thing that 3 years ago, and Pete's going,
Yeah.
how are we going to do that, right? Like,
Yep. And they're fired up, man.
Yeah.
Pete and Keith are fired up. I sent
love
them. We
it.
made our first promo video yesterday with Jacob here behind the camera, and it's a pretty cool video. I have to show you after the podcast, but I sent it to Keith last night, and he's like, "Dude, let's go."
Let's go.
I was like, because my goal is 400 million within 4 years, 400 million valuation in 4 years, and Keith's like, why not 500 million in 3 years? And I was like, dang it, you know what I mean?
This sounds like a Keith answer.
But yeah, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna build a great culture around it, and it'll be great. And we may never sell, right? We're building the company to sell because I think every company should be built with acquisition in mind, with exit in mind. With that being said, we might get to 75 million a year in revenue and say, hey, we really like this company. It's a great cash flow company. Let's go build other companies and keep them in the portfolio, right?
Yep.
And continue on. So we'll really play it by ear, but we're looking forward to it, man. I think these are the things that team leaders should probably be thinking about, right? Is like, running a team without mortgage and title and home service and stuff like that. Like, I think you're probably going to end up an alcoholic. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not profitable. Like, there's ways that you can run a profitable team without all that stuff. But the profit margins are tiny, and you're only going to be profitable at scale. Like, you have to get over 100 agent, right, mark.
Yeah.
And, you see a lot of team leaders that are stuck at 20 or 25 agents, and they can't scale past that. And they're in for it, man. Like, they were more profitable when they had 3 agents than they are at 25.
Correct.
Right? And now they hate their life, and they have a really high-paying job.
And the investment it takes to then to ramp to 100
Right.
is not always sustainable either.
They don't always have it.
Right.
Right? And so then what do? You raise capital,
You go sell more houses
right?
yourself.
Mhm.
That's what you do.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep, you go sell more. You
that's
get
it.
into production.
Yep.
Screw up your P&L.
Yep.
Yep.
So, yeah, man. Well, I'd love to close with if you've got some wild stories, right? Back from either the transaction time, the leadership time. Like you've seen a lot in a variety of businesses, but any like really wild,
So
like
many.
I mean, that you can
Yeah,
share
sure.
publicly?
Dude, I've had a lot, man. I mean, I've done so. Like, I've sold a decent amount of luxury real estate. Here's what I'll say about luxury: is luxury real estate, 100%, both parties. So you have buyer seller. Okay, everything is principal. It's not money when you're in the luxury space.
Yep.
I've had deals fall apart over a freaking slide.
Yeah.
In the backyard, like a playset,
Yeah.
right? Like, and and as a good agent, I'll always offer to like buy whatever I need to buy to get a deal done, right? But I've had deals where it's one day before close of escrow, and they're like, if the seller doesn't leave that slide, we're backing out. We'll walk from our earnest money. We don't care. I'm like, I'll buy you the slide. They're like, nope, we don't want you to buy it. We want this. We want that slide right there. And the seller's like, we're not giving it to, like, like crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I had a deal one time where I'm gonna not say specifics so people don't know who I'm talking about. Let's just say earnest money was multiple seven figures. Okay. Hard earnest money. They're hard on a, let's say, over $10 million.
Which hard earnest money just means if something goes sideways, they can't get it back. Yeah.
Something happened, I think, in their relationship, an argument, something to the effect of that, and one of the clients calls us up and says basically, walk away, cancel the contract, right? And I'm like, you have like a couple $1 million on the line. Like, what do you mean? Like, this is crazy. Like, you're better off just closing on it and then putting it back on the market, like,
right,
and selling it, And so, yeah, it was like a whole thing. I'm like, okay, I hang up the phone. I look at, I think it was like my TC at the time or a cross agent or the agent I was working with on my team. And I was like, hey, we're not doing anything. We're going to wait and we're going to see if this blows over, right? Because our fiduciaries to our client, and that's a lot of friggin' money. And in the off chance that they're just having a bad day and they regret all this tomorrow, like, you better believe we're going to wait and find out, right?
100%.
And so we waited, and sure enough, the next day they're like, hey, did you cancel? And we're like, no. And it's like, and they ended up closing on it, So that was a crazy situation. And then, like, on the wholesale side, dude, we've done a lot of crazy stuff, bro. I mean, I've bought people. I bought a guy an RV one time to get the deal done because he was like dead set on taking an RV and driving it around America. And we were getting the deal at such a good price, and he was okay with it, obviously. But he's like, dude, I want an RV, and so I went to his house. We pulled up, I think it was Earnhardt's or something, Camping World, and we started looking at RVs online. I literally went, bought him an RV, gave it to him, and we closed on that deal, right?
That's awesome.
So, I mean, dude, we've had squatter stories, people, that are squatting in houses that won't leave. I've been in houses where, there's like 35 homeless people living in the house, like everything you can imagine, bro.
Wow.
We've dealt with it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the squatters thing is, I feel like,
dude,
just as part of the investor world.
And after a couple years, the squatter gets a house.
Yeah.
Right? In California, it's like 2 days. But in Arizona, at some point, like, there is, I don't know the exact law, but like they were within months of that house being theirs.
Yeah.
And they were homeless. Like, they couldn't even have paid the tax, but like it would have just gotten foreclosed on anyways.
Right.
Like, anyways,
Wow.
yeah. Dude, the industry, I always tell my agents, right? What can go wrong most likely will.
Yep.
And you should expect anything, and do not count the money till it is in your bank account.
Yeah.
Right? Because the day before, the deal can fall apart. Somebody can die. Something can happen. I promise you. And dude, I have a deal right now, literally right now. Hopefully, I'm going to close on it next week. We just got approval for the bankruptcy court. It's a $3 million deal in Paradise Valley. I'm representing the buyer. We're literally hard earnest money. We're day before close of escrow. I get an email, seller's agent, hey, can't close, right? We're, there's 4 liens on the property and blah, 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 blah. And the seller's fighting the banks, and like, it's just not going to happen, right? Like, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, we're closing tomorrow. Like, how come nobody ever told it? Like, And so, I talked to my buyer. Obviously, if my buyer wanted to, he could have sued them. He decided not to, because they knew about it and they didn't tell us, right?
Yep.
So you can sue for damages, which is like lost time and whatever.
Sure.
And, basically we decided to just wait it out. And I told the cross agent, I said, look, we're going to wait. Cause they're like, hey, listen, like within a month or two, like we're going to go, we're hiring an attorney. We're going to go file bankruptcy. Like we're going to get the sale approved. but it was a 50-50, right? Like I put that email in ChatGPT. I was like, what are the chances this deal gets done, right? ChatGPT's like, back out, you know? So I told my buyer, I'm like, dude, we're going to stick it out. If you're down, we're going to stick it out. I called the agent. I said, hey, I'm not signing an addendum with you. I'm not extending close of escrow. I want you to be in breach of contract every single day until the day that it gets approved. That way, at any day, if my buyer wakes up, because I knew I had a feeling that my buyer could just wake up and be like, I want out, and he would want his earnest money back, right?
Yep.
And they kept blowing me up. They're like, we need an extension. We need an extension. I'm like, I'm not giving it to you. Like, I want you in breach. Like, I like you in breach so I can cure your ass and I can cancel and get my earnest money back, right? And we just got an email a couple days ago saying BK approved the sale. And we're rocking and rolling now. We're trains back on the tracks, baby.
Let's
you
go.
know,
I love
2
that.
months later of like nothing, like radio silence.
Right? We deal with that a lot in our world where it's like the hurry up and wait.
Yep.
And you know, like the minute that this one thing happens, the sprint of all the rest of the dominoes.
Yeah. Now everybody's like, the rate lock expires on the 28th. Like we got, you know what I mean? Like we got to roll, you know? So yeah, dude, what can go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I think, the RV story is crazy. I think the most I ever spent was at a client that missed a signing point. The notary couldn't get to her in California. She was moving here. So I literally bought her flight because the boyfriend was driving out the next day.
Oh my gosh.
So I bought her flight so that she could fly here, right, the next morning and sign at 11 a.m. when she got here. Right. And it's like, sometimes you got to do it. You got to do what it takes to take care of people, right? Like this is the biggest transaction in their life for the most part, usually. And so to be able to show up for people, right? And you do the little thing, you make the sacrifice. It's just money.
It's just money at the end of the day.
It's just money.
Yeah, and the way I look at it is like when deals go south like that, like typically it's a zero-sum game. It's all or nothing, right? So your income either just went to zero or you're gonna spend $1,000 to get the deal to go through and make whatever you're gonna make, right?
Exactly.
So I'll take the money. Yes. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people, like again, it just goes back to like people being silly, right? It's like if it's 0 or 10 grand, but you were supposed to make 11 grand, I'll take the 10.
Yeah. I'll tell you, right? Because our team model is really unique, right? And it's like, hey, come work here. And because we blow open a lot of doors for people and create a lot of opportunity, like we don't have the 200 basis point comp plan. I have LOs all the time that are like, but I gotta make at least 170, 175. I was like, how many deals did you do last year? 5?
Right.
Right? And how many of those at your broker shop did you do at reduced borrower paid comps? So you didn't make 200 or 250.
Right.
Right? You didn't make 175 depending on your situation. Like your average based on your W-2 is like more like 140.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
And you did a third of the transactions you did in 2021.
Yep.
And just so we're clear, like you're good with that path.
Yeah.
Just because of the number at the top of the comp agreement.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's like,
right. They should be focused on their net income or their gross income, right? What did you make last year? Okay. It doesn't. So then if I pay you 5 basis points, but I show you how to make 100 grand more than you made last year, is that okay with you?
Right.
Right. Cool. Okay, great. Let's do it. Right. It's the same thing in real estate as a team, right?
Yeah.
People are like, I don't want that split. It's like, okay, well, how much did you make last year? 200 grand. So if I show you to make 250 grand, and we make 99% as a team and you make 1% of the commission, but you make 50 grand more than you did last year, is that okay with you? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, so it's not the split. It's your belief of yourself or the team in which you can achieve your goal.
Amen.
Right? Yeah.
Amen. So, well, brother, any closing remarks?
Man, I'm fired up, dude. I'm fired up for you. Linder's gone wild, dude. This is awesome. You know, my only thing would be to everybody in the industry, you know, that has maybe struggled over the last couple of years, you know, remember, nothing bad lasts forever, and nothing good lasts forever, right? And we've been in a season where it hasn't been great, right? And you've seen a lot of people that have really struggled. A lot of businesses have really struggled over the last couple of years in our particular industry. I think, and I don't have a crystal ball, but I can see, you know, I follow it just as closely as you do, I promise. I'm waiting for the Fed minutes to come out. They come out in 14 minutes. And you know, it's about to change, right? And I think 2026 and 2027 are going to be phenomenal years. And I think there's going to be a lot of that pent up demand that comes back into the market. And I think, you know, get ready, hold on tight, live below your means.
The threshing floor has been cleared a little bit too, which is kind of nice. I tell my LOs all the time, like the fact that you're still here grinding this out, you're better than half of your peers from 2 years ago.
My last piece of advice would be, if the next couple years turn out the way we think they are, right? Stack cash.
Amen.
Live below your means.
Yep.
Number one mistake people make, right? They start making 50 grand a month, and it's called that lifestyle creep.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Your expenses go up at the same rate as your income.
Yep.
Look, nothing good lasts forever either, right? So if you don't live below your means, when that comes to an end, and it eventually will, it always does,
Yes.
then you're going to be screwed once again.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Awesome, man. Hey, appreciate you.
Appreciate
Thanks for
you,
being
brother.
here.
Yep. Thank you
Cheers.
for having me, man.
Excited for
Cheers.
what's ahead.
Excited for
All right,
what's
brother.
ahead.